Okay, before we get started, we're going to have Jerry here do a little prayer for us. If you uncover.
Thank you. Heavenly Father, we're gathered here today to pay our respects and to honor our veterans who made the ultimate sacrifice. Lord, we pray that you have taken our brothers and our sisters by your side and blessed them with your love and grant them everlasting peace in heaven. We ask that you watch over their families and their loved ones. We also ask that you watch over all of our military personnel on duty around the world and help them perform their duties to the best of their abilities. Protect them from harm. Return them home safely to their families and loved ones. We ask that you help our disabled veterans in their healing, both physically and mentally. We pray that you bless all of our KIAs and MIAs and POWs and their families and friends and grant them peace. We also pray you bless all of our first responders here at home and keep them safe as they perform their duties. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right, we're going to do in just a moment. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we got flags over. All right, one on the pole right here is the VFW flag. All veterans, military, they salute. All others cross your heart. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Made a few notes. This will only take about 30 minutes.
Amen.
One announcement I want to make real quick. If you have any questions what this is all about, Tom, hold up your hand real high. Well done. All right, because I'm not going to be able to stick around at the other end.
Now what?
I swear there's conspiracy going on here this afternoon. All right, on the 29th, Traverse City, Blue Angels, they do what they call an open ramp. All right, motorcycles, this is headed up by Legion Riders, Rolling Thunder, and different organizations, Patriot Guard Net. We're going to meet at the American Legion, Traverse City, 4 p.m. on the 29th. Right in to the Coast Guard station, police escorted. And it is awesome. You get to meet Blue Angels and stuff, and you're in there at least a half hour before everybody else gets in there. So that's open to everybody. Just meet at the American Legion, 4 p.m. on the 29th. Okay. Well, they don't push it, but yes, if you got a helmet, they prefer you wear a helmet when you come in there.
No guns.
No weapons also. Okay, anything else? All right, there's a lot of trikes, so all trikes, you will run single file. Nobody beside you, or you beside nobody else. So they're all single file. The rest of us are going to ride staggered. Keep the line tight. We're going to be slowing down. We might even be stopping because of the construction. We tried working with Elmer's. But I couldn't get a hold of the right person. So we're going to see if we can't get through there. Just do it safely. Do not stop for any stop signs, no stop lights. It's legal today. Law enforcement is going to be right in front of us, showing us right on through. So,
we got an accident right in front of Dunham's. We're not sure if the accident, it's an injury accident. We're not sure if it's in the parking lot, like right in front of the store or on the street. So that'll be an additional hazard that we're dealing with. They're just getting EMS is just getting there now. So hopefully we'll have an update before you leave.
Okay, you got 8 minutes for that.
That's 5 minutes longer than anybody else gives me, so that's perfect.
All right. Okay, our voting spoke to law enforcement. They're going to take off very slow. pick up their speed slow and hold it around 35 maximum so that everybody can keep the line nice and tight. I'm going to say it again, keep the line nice and tight. All right, and in the front of the procession, right, or the wall's going to be right behind you guys or right in front of you? They're going to be in front of you guys? All right, the walls, you got the Vietnam wall, the Michigan-Vietnam wall, and the Mid-Eastern wall, both being towed trailers. There's a black pickup, and a black Chrysler product. Those three vehicles are going to be in front. All the rest of the vehicles are going to be in the back. There's a red vehicle over here with door signs. Is that Rolling Thunder signs?
Yep.
That's going to be the very last vehicle in the procession. But those three are the ones going to be in front of the motorcycles. Everybody else is going to be behind the motorcycles. And so that law enforcement knows who the last vehicle is, it's that red one. All right. And road construction, I already mentioned that. Is there anything else I need to bring up?
Four-way flashers?
Four-way flashers, that includes all vehicles. All four-wheelers, four-way flashers if you got them. Anything else I forgot?
When we get to the casino, we're going to turn in the entrance, come in, loop around. The very first entrance, the walls are going to go to the right. We're going to go ahead and into the left. There's a big parking lot where we stayed for the big ride tomorrow. So all the bikes are going to go in there. Lot number 10. The 10 is up there.
Just be advised that there's construction, there might be loose gravel or something there.
Now they're repaving a couple of the parking lots, so we're going to have to go through there very slow.
Okay, in the back, if you didn't hear that, he said just be aware of loose gravel through the construction site. Be very careful. Anything else?
In the parking lot.
Oh, so we're good on that? Good on that. Boy, you did that in less than 7 minutes. All right. We're good on the accidents, not in the way. Yay! Okay, we're going to pull out at exactly 3 o'clock, correct?
7 minutes.
Okay, so yep.
Oh yeah,
How you doing?
very well.
Did they have a good turnout? Did you go to the Ford garage for the car show?
Yeah, 30 cars maybe.
Moving on the line too.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was something going on there.
rain.
It rained?
Rain, we had rain that morning.
Oh yeah, I went down to Hickory Corners and I hit rain by.
You be careful there, Grandpa. The blue car is the Little River Band squad of Indians. He hooked up his seatbelt. got about 75 motorcycles, I'd say. Why don't you try to count them when they come through? One. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 92, 93, 94, 95. That's what I said. Didn't I tell you exactly? 95? I think I did.
Covering the entire space.
Good evening. This is Mike Tillison at the June Tea Party. That's my wife talking to somebody.
Okay, we'll start getting ready and started. before we get on with our main June meeting, we do have our once a year annual meeting, and that's what will start first for election of officers for next year. But let us begin the night with prayer. We come before you today to give you honor and praise. You are the source of all that is good and all our blessings. Thank you for every gift that we have been given. We thank you for the opportunity to come together this day. We ask for your hand of blessing on this meeting. We ask that you would guide and direct our meeting so that it is full of wisdom and knowledge. We ask this in your name. Amen. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, my name is Bob Sealish, and we're going to start out with the election of our steering committee for the year. We have 7 positions, and so far we have 7 candidates. Is there anyone else who would like to run for a position on the steering committee? Okay, the 7 candidates are myself, Bob Sealish, Sally Blank, Rose DeWolf, Rod Merrill, Chris Struve, yes, Joyce Valentine, and Tom Wass. We'll just run as a complete slate then for all our members. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that ends our annual meeting.
Congratulations.
I'm so happy.
All right. Our general meeting. We have decided this year we didn't spend as much money as we normally do last year, and we've got some extra money, so we are not collecting dues for the year for everyone. Those who paid last year are still members this year, so that will save everybody $20. Also, if you're not on our email list, let us know. We can get you on that list. And we have a lot of newsletters and action alerts that Sally Blank does a great job with. Friday, July 20th is our annual picnic with the Manistee County Republican Party. And we have, it's on Friday, not Thursday, it's Friday, July 20th at the First Street Beach Pavilion. It will begin at 12 noon, and everyone should bring a dish to pass, same as we've done in the past. We will provide the sloppy joes and water for everyone. We will have 2 speakers. One will be Ray Franz, who's a state senate candidate for the 35th district that we all know. He will be there. We also have Dr. Richard Ziley, who's co-president of the Michigan Board of Education. He is also up for election this year, so he will be the other speaker. Okay, August. We have canceled our August meeting. That is on August 16th, which is the same night as the county conventions for the GOP. So it would be a pretty empty room if we held a meeting in August on that night. So we've canceled our August meeting. Okay, Thursday, September 20th, right here at the Bungalow Inn, we have our Representative Jack Bergman has agreed to come and speak to us. So that's September 20th. Okay, let's get on with, yeah, go ahead.
Is it true he's running unopposed?
Is who?
That he's running unopposed? I was looking on that site Ballotopedia, and it said the 2 Democrats were running against him. One withdrew and one was disqualified. Does that mean he's running unopposed?
So they were challenging the one that was disqualified.
Yeah, so I was disqualified.
Yeah. So they'll have to do a write-in?
Yeah, they have to write into the primary to get onto the ballot. If they don't succeed at that, then they won't be on the ballot. So
They can do a
but they're
write-in.
also challenging. There's going to be no Democratic primary for first congressional district. But they're trying to get a write-in, but they're also challenging the disqualification to try to get on the ballot.
I don't want to wish you any bad luck. I think we can catch it.
Michael Morgan's party, or not party, but his committee called and said they were doing a write-in campaign.
They are doing it right now?
Yes.
For the Democrat congressional.
Yes.
Is that for the primary or for the general?
Primary. So that if he gets enough votes, he'll go to general.
I mean, what would be enough? Two? I mean,
Well, the winner, if he's running on the Democratic ticket, he'll have to get the top ticket in order to move on to November.
What if there's no name
There's a
Democratic name
certain-
there? All it takes is like,
There's a certain percentage. There's certain yeah.
Of the last gubernatorial race of the candidates that ran in the district.
okay, so it's not just like a normal write-in where you have to pre-register as a write-in.
That's
then
correct.
They count your
That's
votes. They have to get a certain percentage
They do,
in
yeah.
each township, in each, or overall.
I think, well, it's overall because it's a congressional seat,
Okay.
so.
Interesting.
And they will hold up results from the primary election because write-ins are hand counted, so it'll be a late night if that happens.
What they do with that?
Well, it's still going to the write-in bin, but then you still have to look at the balance to make sure who that write-in person is.
And you have to make sure the name is written correctly too, because that's gonna create arguments, whether,
Well, you can accept a variety of names. If it's Michael Morgan and it comes out Mike Morgan, or Michael Morgan with an E on the end, you still document all those versions of that name, and then you count those. If it's legit, then you count those votes. So if it's George Myers, then no, you wouldn't. But if it's Michael Morgan, spelled a little weird, or
you guys know more than me.
so it'll take a while to do those results.
let's do that.
Okay, thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Our speaker tonight is Mary Trader Ling. I got that right. She's our Republican candidate for Secretary of State. She has extremely impressive background. She's had over 30 years experience in computer security, business development, and executive leadership. And she has a bachelor's degree in accounting and marketing from the University of Dayton. Work experience includes accounting with KPMG, SBC Ameritech and computer security, and North American Sales Director for Lynx Technology. She is an expert on computer security at a time when the integrity of our computer systems is a major issue with all government systems. With that, I will welcome Mary. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be walking around with the microphone so we can all hear.
Thank you very much, Bob. I appreciate it. And Rod, we connected, and that's how I looped back around to come here. And I'm just delighted to be here. I've been up here in the northern area for the last couple days, and called downstate this morning. I had a call at 9 with some of my team members that are located down there. And they said, it's miserable down here. It's pouring rain and it's cold. And I said, it's gorgeous up here. So yes, it's great to be up here. Don't give that secret out. This is God's country, and this is a beautiful area of the state of Michigan. And how proud I am to be running to be your next Secretary of State, to represent you here in the state of Michigan. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about myself, a little bit then about what we're up against, and then also dive into my platform, and then allow you to have some Q&A time. So first and foremost, I'm pure Michigan. I am born and raised here in the state of Michigan, and I'm greatly proud of that. My husband Paul and I have been married 32 years. In October it will be 33 years. And we have 3 beautiful adult children. And we've acquired a son-in-law along the way about 3.5 years ago. And a little secret, and I have this big smile, I can feel it on my face right now, but I'm delighted to say that we are expecting our first grandchild in October. So we're continuing that forward momentum, the next generation of Michiganders, and I'm just proud and honored to be not only standing up here running to be Secretary of State, but to continue that forward legacy of Michiganders here with the Treater Lang families. So along those lines, first and foremost, what keeps coming back to me is the lost decade. And I'm really running to make sure that we don't repeat that. That was 10 years ago. I don't know about you, but I'm born and raised down in Southeast Michigan, and many of my friends were losing their jobs. Our children were getting educated here and leaving the state. The property values were tanking. Unemployment was the highest ever. The Jennifer Granholm days were disastrous. And our legislature and the governor has done a phenomenal job. Since 2009, it's been extraordinary. The economy has been boosting up, businesses are thriving, employment's up, property values, finally, they're starting to go up. I mean, it's been phenomenal. And so I am running to ensure that we continue the legacy of the Republican Secretary of State, and we ensure that the state continues to move forward in that forward direction. But I gotta tell you, we are up against, and another key reason why I'm running, we're up against Jocelyn Benson. Jocelyn Benson ran against Ruth Johnson 7.5 years ago. She only lost by 6 percentage points, only 6. Her and her liberal friends, George Soros, are out here to destroy our state. They're trying to change the rules with this Democratic initiative with the voters not politician, changing the rules so that they can gerrymander it so the districts are all representative in the Democratic way, and that even our congressmen will be represented in DC with the Democratic Big D. This is corruption. They got various ballot initiatives between the voters not politician, go to vote where they want to, have same-day registration and voting. You talk about the clerks, they want to have early voting. We are the most decentralized state here for the election process amongst almost all 50, because we have over 1,600 clerks in the state. And think of all the tampering that can go on and all the different rules and the confusion when you add all this other stuff in there. We as Republicans have to agree on the basic things. To prove that you are a U.S. citizen to vote, to show an ID. These are basic core items that are a requirement that we as Republicans believe in. But this is obviously not what the Jocelyn Bensons and the Democrats. If Jocelyn Benson had the opportunity to get into this position as Secretary of State, it's been known that the only reason why she wants this Secretary of State position is to become governor here. So that lost decade that I just talked about, this would be wicked and vital to our state if she had the opportunity to become Secretary of State and move into that governor position. So you're not just getting 8 years of her as a governor. It would be 4 to 8 years prior to that as Secretary of State. This is detrimental to the state. We have worked too hard. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about myself and why I feel that I have the candidate and the skills to go up against Jocelyn. For the last 30 years, I have been a CPA. Over 15, 20 years of that I've spent focused on computer security and integrated security. I've ran various divisions of operations, both in sales, business, finance, and even government affairs, focused on various operations, including computer security and integrated security. Actually, my CPA credentials, because of that background, I've given back in many ways to the state, in many ways. I've been on the board of Michigan Association of CPAs, and in that position, I've worked on various task forces. We did volunteers, I volunteered for veteran income tax returns when they came back. active duty, and I did their tax returns for free. I've worked on the retirement plan. I've worked as a volunteer as a CPA with the MDOT to address some of their things. The governor has appointed me to the outdoor blue ribbon panel in which I worked with the DNR folks, and I was the only CPA on that. Actually, his first year that he was elected, that first year I worked for 12 months. Every month we spent an entire day together, and I was the only CPA on that to identify some of the financial hurdles that we had in there, and then worked with all the DNR folks. Actually, I was instrumental in the Belle Isle situation in which the DNR brought that island back there in Detroit back under the state of Michigan's realm of responsibilities. And I'm honored that you'll see on my palm piece that I am a regent over at Eastern Michigan University. The governor appointed me there shortly after I completed the blue ribbon panel. He called me up and he said that I'd like to appoint you a regent at Eastern Michigan University. I said, we were just talking about that, so I thought I'd bring it up, Colleen. And I said, well, I didn't graduate from there. And he says, I need your help at Eastern. I really need a CPA over there. And in 2011, Eastern Michigan just did a 000, which was 0% increase in tuition, room, and board. And it was detrimental to the financial position. And as a result, the governor asked me to get involved in the board and roll up our sleeves. I was a chair of the budget committee for the first 2 years, and we made many decisions. And yes, we made various cuts. We had to financially keep our heads above water, and we also had to raise tuition. And so I know that people may try to use that against me, so I'm sharing it with you. Did I like doing any of those items? No. Was it necessary to keep the second largest university here in the state alive and well? Yes. And I'm honored that the governor knew that I could go in there and really do the job that was necessary. I also spent, I was the first individual that ran the district of computer security over at Ameritech. And at Ameritech, I thought out of the box and rolled up my sleeves and hired some individuals that showed the vulnerabilities of the system in the telecommunications industry. We were able to show how vulnerable the system was to the board of directors at Ameritech, as well as the regional Bell operating companies. So it's that type of mentality that I bring, thinking out of the box, the business focus, that really brings that depth to bear. And my platform that is focused on security optimization really shows that forward momentum, that technology, and thinking out of the box. Security, you can see, is by far the foremost important item on here, and that's where my one citizen, one vote comes into play. It's protecting the integrity of the vote, ensuring that we protect that vital information that's stored on each and every one of you at the Secretary of State's office from cyber attack and cyber theft. Ensuring that we provide state-of-the-art training to clerks and poll workers and making it easy. Penny and I were talking before this meeting. You know, and more plentiful. You know, Penny's been there 2 years. Let's just keep it rolling. There's so much to learn. This is a very difficult process Jill, that you oversee. God bless you here at the county level. Thank you for all that you do, both of you. There's a tremendous amount of work there, and I want to keep those channels of communication and utilize the skills that I have with computers and make it webinars, making it easy for you to be trained. But also to take it to the next level. To also provide a team of poll workers that are trained and certified so that in those precincts where we're understaffed or we need additional staffing the day of elections, that we have individuals that are certified. And I plan on recruiting those individuals from service organizations, businesses, libraries, and colleges. So that these individuals have the skills that are necessary to not only follow the directions, but account, reconcile, and do all the necessary things. And just as Jill mentioned, this is going to be a late night here in August. There's a lot of late nights. Sometimes they don't leave those election polls till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So you need you need individuals that are there and have the endurance. And we are going to have a team available as Secretary of State that we can dispatch and provide any assistance for those that can't continue working through the night. It's important that we continue that. It's important that as one citizen, one vote, I plan on continuing the forward momentum that Ruth Johnson has done with the interstate cross-check, in which we remove individuals that are registered in multiple states. And I plan on partnering with ERIC. ERIC is another form of this partnership with various states in which we can remove individuals as they move to different states and they're still on our voter rolls. Ruth Johnson, to give her some accolades, if she did not remove utilizing the Social Security match database twice a month, she's been doing this. Prior to 2016, she removed over 500,000 deceased individuals from the voter rolls. If Ruth Johnson didn't take the initiative to do that, we wouldn't have President Trump in office today, nor would this state be red. I plan on continuing that forward momentum. With my computer background, I intend to do that on a daily basis. And it can be done. I know it can. And we're going to do that. And we're going to continue. Do you want to ask the question now? Go ahead.
Go back to Eric, if you would.
Yes.
Explain how many states are involved in that?
In ERIC, it is a gathering, I think it's 16 states. The 22 in the interstate commerce. I don't have the exact number, but we will be close to almost 40 by developing those, continuing the partnership that Ruth has, and then joining ERIC. But I plan on taking it to another level too. My intention as the next Secretary of State is I'm going to reach out to each and every Secretary of State in the 50 states. I'm going to develop a relationship with them. One, I'm going to develop a relationship so that we can monitor citizens that are registered in 2 states and remove them from our rolls when they're in another state voting. But also to develop the relationships with them to determine some of their best practices. I, as a businesswoman, that's what I've done all my life. Why am I going to duplicate anything that someone's already been successful and we have some efficiencies in? So I'm going to learn by reaching out to them in that matter too. But also, most importantly, is to clean up the voter roll in regards to that. So we'll have a number of states covered. If I can develop that relationship with all those Secretary of States, I think we can create our own interchange amongst the 50 states. And I want to be a driving force, and Michigan be a leader in doing that too.
You said 500,000 people have been removed. How many of those voted Democrat or Republican?
You know, I don't know, and I don't think we'll ever know, but you could imagine.
But they did.
I would say there's a good 500 that voted Democrat. I don't have the exact stat, but you know the great majority.
But they were voting.
Oh, they were voting. They were voting. Yeah. Yeah. And no fault of any of the clerks. They were on the voter rolls, but some smart people knew that they were there too. So, but that is going to continue. And actually, with the Social Security match, 2 weeks ago, the state legislature put forth and it has approved. I think Governor Schneider signed it, but it will be signed if he hasn't yet. But the next Secretary of State, it will be a requirement that once a month that they do this comparison. So they put a number of things into tune for fear that if this position ever did switch, that we have some good control mechanisms in place. But that's once a month. You know, I'm here to say that I think we could do it and clean it up every single day so that you feel comfortable every day looking at the voter roll. And the clerks then take the initiative to see who's in the paper and who has passed away, and they can even sometimes remove it before the Social Security match takes place. So there's a lot that needs to be done, and my platform with One Citizen, One Vote is really focused on ensuring that we have fair election results, ensuring that we protect the integrity of each and every one of our votes. And then I take it to the next level, and the optimization portion really focuses on the customer experience at the branch offices. I think we'll all agree that the branch wait times is just too long. And so I provide solutions. My plan is really providing a solution, respecting your time in line. And that's taking some things that Ruth and former Secretary of States have initiated. That's taking the online services that we have available today with my computer background, broadening and expanding those transactions so you can do more transactions with the Secretary of State, but also making it user-friendly, making it easy to do those transactions. And if any of you are precinct delegates, you've received a blast at the end of last year in which I've even introduced the Express SOS app on your phone. Just as you do banking, you board airplanes, if you want the option to be able to do transactions on your phone with the Secretary of State, we're going to provide you that option. These are all ways that you don't have to go into the branch office and wait in line. And the My Time that Ruth has rolled out, that's where you can make an appointment online and you get the exact appointment the next day or whatever day that is that you make. But you can, rather than sitting there in a branch office waiting, you can go and run errands. And the Secretary of State's office will communicate with you on your phone to let you know what time your appointment is, send you a friendly reminder that's in 10 minutes. You know, hurry up with your errand, stop your grocery shopping or whatever you need to do to get there. Now that's in 40 of the 131 branch offices today. Myself as a CPA, being fiscally conservative, and let me just throw this in, pro-life, and I support the Second Amendment, but the fiscal conservative end of it is that I plan on doing more with less. The Secretary of State's budget is a $250 million budget from appropriations. And actually we collect over $2.5 billion in fees every year. That's why this is a big time operation. This is a big responsibility. And being with my financial background and the computer background, I really have those modern day set of skills that are necessary to be our next Secretary of State and also to drive us forward. And so now let me go back to the branch time, respecting your time in line. The My Time, it's going to be a key priority. There's 131 branches, we only have it in 40, and that's all we'll have here at the end of 2018. I want to roll that out. So I'm going to find ways of saving money so that we have the money to roll that out so everyone throughout the state have that option. And then the last thing in regards to respecting your time in line is the kiosks. If any of you have been there to the Secretary of State's office, we have tested and proven we're able to do tabs through that machine and a couple other things. I plan on broadening and expanding the capabilities of those kiosks and partnering up with Michigan-based companies. For example, a Myers. Up in Marquette, they just opened up a Myers. We did our UP tour at the end of April. It was opening up 2 weeks later. So that those people in rural areas and throughout the state have options that rather than going to the Secretary of State's office, they can go to a place of retail or business that's open 24/7 and be able to do transactions with the Secretary of State. So I have my Democratic opponent that we're up against, Jocelyn Munson, promising 30-minute wait times at the branch offices. She also promises 30-minute wait to vote. So these are just gimmicks. And yes, are they attractive to the citizens of the state of Michigan, saying, wow, 30-minute wait, I like her platform. This was tried back in Richard Austin's days. It's been tried, it's a gimmick, and let me tell you, so she doesn't deliver on the 30-minute wait? Does that mean, Jeff, that you'll get free tabs? I'm sorry, we couldn't deliver in 30 minutes, here's your free tabs. That's not gonna happen. Well, Democrats will probably promise free cars, I don't know. So, you know, this is crazy, it's a gimmick, it's not something you can do. And then, you know, some of my opponents will say, well, to cut down on the lines, we'll give you, you know, you can register for 3 to 5 years, you know, your tabs and get your license plates and everything like that. Well, who has the money to do that? It's not like you're gonna get a reduction, because those fees are monitored and approved by the legislature. It's not something that I, as the next Secretary of State, determines. And speaking of that, as the next Secretary of State, I told you I'm going to be very fiscally conservative and look for ways of saving in the budget. If I can save, once I institute some of these my time and some of these convenient things for all of us, if I can show that I can save some money out of this $250 million budget, I'm going to show that so that I can go to the state legislature and say, can we reduce some of these fees? I mean, this is the way that we give back. And that's what you'll get out of me as the next Secretary of State. So the stability portion of my platform is the last item, and that is really, I kind of said it earlier, is just continuing the forward legacy of Republican Secretary of States. Richard Austin was there for 25 years. We are fortunate to have, when I spoke with some of you before the meeting started, you know, Candace Miller came in there and she had one fax machine, she told me. She took it to a whole nother level of technology. And Terry Lynn Lamb stepped in there, and that was a time when we were in the fiscal crunch. That was the lost decade, when the budgets were tanking and Jennifer was coming up with some ridiculous things, like the driver's responsibility fees were just fictitious and fake on the books and all that kind of stuff. And that's where she had to make some cuts, and some branches had to be cut. And then I've given accolades tonight with Ruth Johnson and all that she's achieved and what she's done for this office. But we need to continue that forward momentum. We need to keep it Republican. I am honored to have the endorsement of 2 former Secretary of States. Candace Miller has been on my campaign since day number 1, very supportive, and also former Secretary of State Terry Lynn Lamb. They know that I can do the job on day number 1. They know that I can go up against Jocelyn Benson and bring victory home for us as Republicans. So I am honored to be up here to deliver my platform and how important it is, but really the next Secretary of State has to be a strong conservative. Has to be a leader, one that follows by the rules and leads with integrity. And that's exactly what you'll get as the next Secretary of State. That is really the components of Mary Treater Lang. I bless you all. I thank you all for being Republicans. I thank you all for your support behind the president and all the great things that he's achieving on behalf of us and making us proud. But I thank you all to being Michiganders and being here in by far the best state in the entire nation. So thank you very much for your time.
You gonna take questions? Illegal immigrants that are here, or even the H-1B or the migrant workers, are they allowed to get driver's licenses in the state of Michigan?
Yes, they are.
Okay, since they are those driver licenses identified as they are non-residents? Do they look different than the one that I have, or do they look the same?
Well, one of the first questions I asked as your next Secretary of State And so, interesting, because I've met with a number of clerks, and some clerks didn't even know this, but I'm sure our clerks here know this. But they get driver's license, and up in the upper right-hand corner, there's these initials that say LT. And the LT represents limited term. So that's to represent that limited term, they're non-citizens. What I'd like to do, and actually one of my blasts that went out earlier in the year, I believe, is that I think that we should change the color of the driver's license. Like a yellow or something that's very eye-appealing to the eye, for not only the ease for the clerks during the voting process when they show the ID, but also just basic things like everyone's required to show an ID to check out a library book. So it'd be nice to just show the ID and we know that it's not a citizen. So maybe you have different rules. Maybe they have to come back in 2 days as opposed to 2 weeks or something. Because not knowing when they're going to leave, you want to get your book back. I don't know, but just, I talked to librarians, they think the ease of that. I've even spoken to some law enforcement. We were up at one of the honorary events in Lansing about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I mentioned it to them, would that help? And they said, yeah, it would be helpful. It was on the west side of the state, and they said they're going to have all kinds of these workers coming in, and they're all driving around. And there's a whole nother issue with that, because they're driving around and they don't have insurance, and all kinds of other things too. And so as the next Secretary of State, there's a whole thing that comes with non-citizens, not only the voting aspect, but many other things that impact each and every one of us as citizens. So I think that answered and then where I want to go with it.
Back in the 2016 election, I remember election night, I went to bed not knowing what was going on with Michigan's results. And it went on for days, it seemed like, the final results for Michigan. And it was embarrassing, why is it Michigan, it took so long for Michigan to count the votes? Do you know?
There's no reason for that other than maybe some shenanigans. We now have optical scanners, and there's either 3 various manufactured systems here in the state. And it'll all be rolled out, is that correct? I think it was in May for anyone that had a school board, but this year is the year that there's no reason that we won't have those rapidly before we all go to bed. My plan when I talked about one citizen, one vote, some of those items that I touch on, recruiting poll workers and having them trained, ensuring that they're certified, and they're certified and trained, I don't think I mentioned, 30 days out. This is not a training process that you took 2 years ago that entitles you to come and work as a poll worker and receive $180 or $200 for that day of working. So it is one in which you're going to show up as a poll worker and you're going to say, yes, I've received the certified training. I know how to follow instructions. I know how to read. I know how to clamp the bags. I know how to make sure that they equal each other. Those basic skills that are necessary. And that's where I mentioned where I'm going to recruit these individuals from. And all those service organizations, business organizations, colleges, these are individuals that know how to do this. These are basic skills. So a lot of that was a result of where I come from, down in Detroit, and what all went on there. And I've spoken to a number of folks, and they've indicated that some of these things that I have in the plan are really going to prevent some of this going on. I've also made a commitment, at least for the first oversight that I see in the electoral process, that I will be physically there in Detroit overseeing what's going on.
I have a follow-up along that line. How will the optical scanners help with reconciling the login book to what the machine actor sees? Because I worked in the Benzie office, or the Benzie Township, and we were there until 5:30 in the morning, 4 times we hand counted the little tabs that we had collected against the
The numbers
We were
there.
off by 4, no matter how we did it, 4 times. So I know why the results were late coming out of our township, because we were there until 5:30 hand counting it. And we had an optical scanner. So the question is, how is new optical scanners going to help with that reconciliation process when you're off between those two numbers?
Well, your tabs, when they go into vote, and Joe, you could probably help me out with this, because you've gone through the training. I don't know which manufacturer you have.
We have Dominion here.
Okay, Dominion. And so I actually am going through the actual training up in Crawford on the 23rd, and so I am going to see the actual training to understand that in further detail. But my understanding is for every ballot that goes, there's a number that's attached, and you check it off the voter roll, and so you should have 1-for-1 votes, and that's how it should be reconciled. Having 4 off, I don't know if those were affidavits or where you could be off 4, and if you did it, how many times?
Well, in the past, we had been just ripping those things off and throwing them in the wastebasket. Well, downstate where I worked before, we held on to those. We put them in numerical order, so we knew that everything got through. We were off by 4. What was it? We had 14?
No, we,
14 minutes.
the machine counted 4 more than what the tabs and the ballots and the computer said.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, and that was the last time that we were allowed to check off street party ticketing, and that was right at the top. So if somebody got their ballot in and they got it cocked a little bit, it could scan that, and then it would
jerk it out.
Jerk it out. It would scan that, and then because it couldn't go all the way through, it set off the alarm, and you pulled it out.
So maybe that vote was then counted. But so now, since then, that's 2016.
Yes.
The legislature approved last year 3 various manufacturers. Each of the clerks could choose their respective, which one they wanted to deal with. We now have a brand new systems that won't allow you to jam. They either read it entirely or not. I do know that for a fact. So that should be eliminated entirely.
Down here, it'll tell you, it tells the voter before they walk away, your ballot's been counted, or hasn't been counted. So, where there might have been a jam or when you pulled it back out, that still would really account for how you were talking, your ballots were off. Did you try and count the applications to vote to match against the poll book?
The poll book and the tabs and the number of ballots actually cast, physical ballots, match.
Did you rerun them through the tabulator now?
No,
that's a question.
What we did,
We'll do that. If we're off 1, they rerun those ballots because I don't want them unless it's
what we did was we took them out and we hand counted the ballots out of the optical scanner, and that matched back, but the numbers were still.
The tabulator number was too many?
Yeah, that was.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Well, I think it's no doubt then that the problem was at the tabulator. If you could zero it out and rerun them, that might have corrected that.
Nobody ever thought
I don't know, but
2:30 in the morning, nobody's thinking.
Yeah, that's a great plan. It would have been to run those through, and I would hope then that 4-vote differential wouldn't exist.
I have a question. It may be naive, but I heard a number that there are about 25% of Michiganders who are not insured.
Initiatives. As the next Secretary of State, I will help, monitor and make sure that the insurance agents in them are licensed and approved through Laura and a few things like that. I will work, as Secretary of State, I'm not only the Chief Election Officer, I'm also the chief motor vehicle officer. So ways that I can work with legislature to make sure that we have insurance for every single driver here in our state is very important. I indicated just earlier that what I heard when I was, I believe it was over in the Muskegon, Ludington area, they told me a lot of folks that are driving around without insurance, and that's not good. That's not good, and that's not healthy for us as a state.
My question, and I commend you for the reaching out with the kiosks and setting your time, but there's a number of people and staff. Why not extend the hours 2 or 3 days a week by 1 hour, still opening at 8, 5 days a week, Wednesday still at 7, but maybe 2 more days, at least 1, another hour. And that way, by shifting the schedule of the staff, you're still covering the office, but utilizing your staff to maximize the service to us, the customer.
No, I do like that, to provide those additional options for added hours. I mean, let's face it, the Secretary of State's office is open during our normal business hours. I hear you loud and clear, Jeff. And these are items as, with my business thinking out of the box mentality, I will be visiting all that. And that's why I say I will reach out to the Secretary of State's, not only from a voter integrity standpoint, cleaning that up, but also to find out some of these best practices. We're not the only state that have this issue, and some have figured this out, I'm sure, and confident. And I'm sure some of it's just having hours. Every Wednesday's a late night, you know. Just
That is now that they open at 11 o'clock in the morning. So you still have your 8 hours, so they open up 2 hours later, they stay open 2 hours later. But by scheduling, like they do in retail, you have so many people, they work their 40 hours, but you shuffle the staff around so that you extend your hours to the public.
Yeah. Been there, done that. I can relate to that. I think it's a wonderful thought-out plan, and we'll be visiting that. The other thing is that, you know, as I travel around the state, you'll see I have this black book and I take notes, and it's very important to me, things that we pick up. Mary Ann's picking up and gathering some of the things that are asked here tonight. But I want everyone to have this same experience at branch offices. So when you walk in, Gladwin's not any better than Muskegon, and that the same experience. You're greeted, welcome to the Secretary of State. They're there, they're helping, they're friendly, getting you to the right line, wherever you need to be, you know, and be serviced. And that all of them are trained in the same way. I was just with the group of RV and motorhome organization, and they said every time we go into a Secretary of State's office, they have to pull out the book because they don't even know how to handle some of our title transfers. So all of them have to be trained the same way and to be able to address all of this. It's part of the certification process we have for poll workers that I'm going to institute. The same is going to be each and every individual working in the Secretary of State's office has to be knowledgeable of everything. And you can't be wasting people's time by pulling out books and everything. You have to be trained and certified to address those things.
Why aren't all those procedures like online? Somebody says, okay, I need to do this sort of transfer, they go to that transfer and the whole thing is just picked out. Ask the questions. What does the person want to do? What's the vehicle ID? Gather that information so that the computer is making the decision. Because a lot of those things they don't do often. If you don't use it, you lose it. And I kind of understand how they get rusty on something they got training on 3 years ago.
Right.
But if you put it more onto a computer base.
We are going to do that. So case in point, I'll share with you. My birthday was in May. My driver's license was due up. So I said, wonderful. I get to try the My Time. So I did the thing. I did my appointment. I sat there and I got there early for my appointment. I didn't run errands and everything. I wanted to observe everything. So I was watching and taking everything in. And they called my number. respectful, the exact time of my appointment, went up there, got served. I go up there and I said, you know, I need to get a new photo. My driver's license is due for renewal. And she goes, oh, here's all your forms. And I go, my forms? Why didn't you tell me when I registered at my time? You should have told me what forms I needed completed. And she goes, oh, no, we don't do that. I said, okay, there's one check in. You know, these forms should be available. And that's when I mentioned earlier that I'm going to take that online service and broaden and expand it, not only to have more options and things that you could do online with the Secretary of State transactions, but also to make it user-friendly. So like, I'm going to do a title transfer. Let me click, let me see what documents I need ready when I go to the Secretary of State's office. Or can I do it online? Those things aren't all available right now. I think a lot of it is that, you know, the Secretary of State's have been very wrapped up in just delivering the service and getting it out there. Ruth, I gave her accolades. She's done a great job. There's more to be done, whether it's the voter files or the customer service end. I'll continue that momentum, but I'm bringing modern day technology into the office. We're really going to broaden and expand that to make it beneficial to each and every one of us and take it to another level. Yes, Patty.
All right, I'm an aging driver, mature. And this one.
Oh, we know you're a grandmother because you're running off with your grandson across Europe.
Yes, we are. My husband had often wondered why we can't require people over 65 to take a driver's license, a driver's test, a driving test. It breaks my heart to see older people cause accidents. They may survive, they'll take the life of someone else. Where if they got behind the wheel again, whether it would be like a video game, would look just like their car, but to take a driver's test once again to prove that they are safe again to be on the road, or put a restricted tab on their license saying that they can't be on they are daylight drivers, or they can't be on a freeway, just to save their lives and the lives of other innocents. And maybe that would say that we're discriminating against older people, but maybe that would be a requirement to ask of people every 10 years to take a driver's test to prove that they are still safe on the road.
Well, this has been brought up a couple times to me, and I personally know when I first started driving, I took that initial test when I turned 16, and I remember taking other tests when I would come back to get my driver's license renewed. So I have to do some research to find out why we even got rid of that, and it may be something that might come back at least every 8 years is when you have to go and get your new photo. Right now, my renewal of my driver's license, in 4 years I can renew that online, but after 8 years you need to get a new photo. So maybe it's every 8 years when we have to physically go into the Secretary of State's, get a new photo, that's when we take another test. But it is something that's on my list to check into.
I saw a woman come to the Secretary of State with her daughter, and I thought it was the daughter that was going to get the driver's license. It was the mother who could not walk. I thought, holy crow, she can't even press the brake pedal. And that just scared me, and that's when my husband said, well, why don't we have driver's tests? I could prove that they're still safe behind. Well, this woman was not safe to get behind the wheel of a car.
And that's dangerous. You know, Mary Ann and I are traveling around the state, and I have to, Mary Ann, is it not 20 times in a day? Because we put over 6,000 to 7,000 miles on our vehicle every month. But she said, you know, we're constantly being very watching every single move. There's people sticking out. There's people trying to cut off. It's amazing, the driving, and we see more of it than we ever have. And all along those lines, just to squeeze this in too, we put 6,000 to 7,000 miles on every month. I'm proud to go around the state. I am by far the hardest working candidate sometimes, I used to say candidate, and someone says, you better just stick to Secretary of State. I'm working extremely hard. I'm out there, you know, we are recruiting precinct delegates to get behind our campaign, to vote for us at the state convention August 25th. We initially were recruiting precinct delegates because the cutoff was May 8th. You could still be a write-in. But as we travel around, we're not only engaging ourselves with our Republican Party precinct delegates, I'm out there and we're meeting folks. You know, we stopped to get a late lunch today, and you know, I introduced myself to the manager, the entrepreneur, the restaurant, letting them know that I'm running to be the next Secretary of State. When we get the nomination at the end of August, and I say we because I work in a collaborative team environment, and it's my entire team and all of us. When you get the nomination at the end of August, we only have 10 weeks to go up against Jocelyn Benson. 10 weeks. Such a disservice. But so that's why it's important that I'm out here and I'm meeting everyone, and just whether they're Democrats, Republicans, when I go into these different workforces or getting gas or anything, I'm just letting them, I'm doing the introduction. I'm Mary Truder Lang, I'm running hard to be your next Secretary of State. And I give them my business card or one of my palm pieces, and I said, please follow along. I think it's important. That's how we're going to secure this Republican Secretary of State in November.
Yay. Give us signs.
It's hard, every time I look over there, I can't really see your faces because that sun is so bright.
It's my halo. My wife heard about the using Social Security numbers to cross-check for the voter registration, and with all the hacking going on nowadays, and their Social Security number is supposed to be for non-identification purposes. How does that being kept safe? How does that work? That you're checking these Social Security numbers?
Well, it's the last 4 digits that are being utilized, to the best of my knowledge, not the full Social Security. But the full Social Security, when I talk about cybersecurity and cyber attack, I'm talking about that vulnerable information that's stored on each and every one of us. That entire Social Security is stored at the Secretary of State. You know, your driver's license number, your personal home address, your VIN numbers. There's a great deal of information stored on you. So it is important that we have a firewall, we have a team protecting that vital information to ensure that there's no outside intrusion. Ruth Johnson was asked, you remember when President Trump got elected, they created a commission in which they were trying to address that there's potentially some voter fraud across the United States. And they asked the commission, I believe it was headed by Vice President Pence, they asked for the entire Social Security number. And Ruth Johnson said, no, I'll give you the last 4 digits. So she knew and had the wherewithal enough to know that we need to protect that. We were talking earlier in the back, you know, that maybe, you know, the Social Security number has been used in so many ways. I mean, I know when I went to the University of Dayton that my Social Security number was my ID. So think of how that was used, and they probably still use it, you know, for me as an alumni. So someone was mentioning maybe we should change Social Security numbers for our personal identification, and particularly when you have been, your identity has been stolen. So I, as your next Secretary of State, will utilize my background as with computer security, integrated security, protecting the integrity, that vital information that's stored on each and every one of you. And what Ruth did, I agree with. I will continue to protect that information. We'll utilize the Social Security when it comes to deceased individuals. That's important to clean up our voter rolls. Yes?
One of the things that happens, I'm a cashier at Meyer, and I'm required for anyone who is not 40 years old to see a driver's license or some kind of an identification. And quite often I'll get expired ones. and I will not sell them whatever it is they want because I have no way of knowing. They might look like they're 40 or, you know, at an age where they could buy something, but I just say no, I can't sell it to you. But it's interesting, even now with the summer months, I'm finding more and more people that don't speak English coming through in groups. And one guy says, oh, I'm from New York. And I said, no, you're not. I said, you grew up somewhere else. And he says, well, Ecuador. Okay, so we were talking about keto. But do you realize where groups of people are being put? Do you have any kind of ability to see people getting folded into local economies in different places? Because that's one of the things that I see quite often. I don't have any recourse but to just say, no, I can't sell this to you. But we use social security numbers, we use driver's license numbers. There's a lot of things that stores would have in their databases that you could probably tap into as far as information.
Well, what they've done, you know, the cybersecurity is a common word. What they've done with Target and a number of retail organizations. So yes, it's very vital information. There's an obvious reason why hackers and individuals, corrupt individuals, want access to it. So I will do our best to keep it protected there in the Secretary of State's office.
Back to the little ID cards that say LT in the corner. I'll just speak louder. Okay. When someone comes in to get an ID or whatever, and they end up with one of those little LTs, meaning it's what, short term?
Limited term.
Limited term, there we go. And then are they put through the usual questions of, do you want to register to vote?
You know, I don't know, and the procedures at every single branch office could be different.
Well, that's something.
But if they have an LT, we're not going to ask them to register to vote because we, Secretary of State's office, know that they're not citizens.
So LT only means limited term because you aren't a citizen.
Right,
It's not
you're not a
applied
citizen.
that you're temporarily here on a government contract or something like that?
No, you're not a citizen.
Okay,
You're
so
not a
LT, so, okay. LT means not a citizen. All right, and they don't?
Limited term doesn't really mean to me not a citizen, if you know what I mean. That's why I'm trying to say, let's change the color or something.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't mean much to me.
Okay, so if
LT in my CPA world means long term.
So
ST is short term.
If working as a poll worker and someone comes in and presents a valid Michigan ID and it's got the little LT up in the corner, but they're on the voter rolls, what do we do?
You should go out of line.
Okay.
And call the Secretary of State's or one of the poll watchers there so that they can call the clerk, get the clerk right
Send
there.
it to your local clerk. It's not a job for the precinct inspector to grill them on it. Send it to the clerk, the township or the city clerk, and that local clerk will take care of it.
Is part of the training this year going to be to instruct poll workers to look for that up in the corner?
Do you go to this training here?
No, I got the one up in Benzie. You don't know. Are you going to do it in the county?
I'm going to, but I will now.
Okay, because I don't think people know that. Now that I know that.
No, they don't always know that. I mean, some of the clerks downstate that I met with, they were just like, I said, you know that LT? And they go, no, I didn't know that was limited term.
But it also means they are not a citizen.
Right.
Therefore, they should not be standing there asking to vote.
Well, when they fill out the application to vote, it says on there, I swear to affirm I'm a United States citizen and blah, blah, blah. They're signing that.
That hasn't stopped anybody. I mean, look at what happens in California.
That's the law, unless our legislators change.
Well, California allows them. I mean,
yeah, I know, but
they allow non-citizens, and even parts of Massachusetts allows non-citizens.
But it's an extra step because people will lie about that, and they're told to lie about it when the Democratic recruiters send these.
Oh, we know.
Okay, so I mean, I think that's a little piece of information that, at least to me, will allow me to.
So when I mentioned that we're going to improve and have state-of-the-art training of the clerks and poll workers, we're going to institute a very consistent rollout. So some of these things that I'm including, I'm on to my second black book since I started the campaign in September. So there's a lot of notes in those books that are going to be regrouped around, and during that transition between Ruth and myself, a lot of time is going to be spent, so we roll out on day one.
Mary, one additional question. On the magnetic strip that's on the back of your driver's license, do you know how much information is in that strip?
So I have been told that it's just a number identified. It's not any confidential information, Social Security or anything along those lines. That's what I've been told.
It says your age for sure, because I see it all the time, every day.
So I'm pretty sure it just says if you're 20 or not, because they do it for checking if you're drinking.
It says exactly what your age is.
So it probably has your birthday.
Well, it's on the front, so obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
It's more to verify that it's a real ID, that they can, that it's not fake. It's like make it look like it. You have to make it sure it has the right, it has the magnetic strip to actually say that it's.
Okay, so bars don't have those magnetic radars.
But it's usually just, yeah, and usually liquor stores and stuff have that too.
So it's probably more preventive with the fake IDs.
Yeah, that's usually what I think. That's what.
There's a rampant. You see that the state of Michigan. This is in my black book. This is not record, but the state of Michigan has one of the most duplicated fake IDs. So I got to check into that too.
All the self-serve, self-scan at Meyer have that in even their cash register, but that's why there's somebody around, because the light goes on as soon as something, either it has some kind of a licensing to it. Like if a kid wants to buy a can of BBs, there's a certain age, and we have to check an ID. If there's adult rated movies, like they have to be 17 or over 17 to get it, the light goes on. If there's liquor involved, the light goes on, and so somebody has to come and scan them through, otherwise they cannot pay, continue. And we're very vigilant about it. I mean, there's people standing there, but all of the cashier registers, I mean, you're talking about 30 registers in the store here. So that's why there are people, numerous people, especially in self-scan, looking for that light to go on, to get right there, and to take their ID and scan, or like I say, if we run into a problem, we're able to call somebody that's above us and have them come and make the final decision. So there's layers of keeping it safe, because we don't want to lose any license or do anything illegal. So it's drilled into us quite often just to be vigilant.
Good. So I want to thank everyone for this opportunity. As we travel around the state, many individuals are coming forward and want to become, get on the team with Mary Treater Lang. So anyone that's interested in providing an endorsement, Mary Ann has endorsement forms. I'd be honored to have you part of the team. We'll probably be rolling those out sometime in July, just to give you a clue of that. So thank you very much for this opportunity. We'll be hanging around to the end.
Okay, does anybody have anything you want to share with the group? Okay.
I do. Wow, I don't need a mic. What I would like to do is I'd like to recognize this young man over here for being here. He's finally somebody in the room younger than me. I can tell you, I certainly appreciate it. If he would be willing to help us, let us know a little bit about him. And please, next time, bring a friend.
A young friend.
So I'm actually Bill Schuette's regional field director for Northwestern Lower Peninsula. So And if anyone is interested in helping out with his campaign as well, or doing anything along those lines, that would be great. But we're gonna keep Michigan red, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, the next get-together is the picnic on Friday, July 20th. Hope to see everybody there. Bye.